Okay, today we're going to talk about technical drawings and how we are going to represent a three-dimensional shape in two dimensions. So in math, you might have heard of the coordinate system that has an x, a y, and a z. You do a lot of stuff in x and y, but there's a third axis for z when you are in three dimensions. And this coordinate system has all the axes at 90 degrees to each other, which in math you might know of a word called perpendicular. Sometimes it's represented with a symbol like that. Sometimes it's represented with a little square in the corner when it's perpendicular. But we're going to use another word that also means perpendicular, which is orthogonal. So this system of XYZ, it is an orthogonal coordinate system. Okay, and that's why each one of the flat views is called an orthographic view. So we're going to take a look at each one. So my top view in my drawing is right here. And if I'm looking down from the top, my two axes for my top view going this way and this way is my x and my y. My front view is right here. My two axes that I would be looking at my front view with is x and z. And then my right view is going to be looking at the y and z plane. And this is going to matter when we start drawing, when we start translating an orthographic view into an isometric view. Okay, so the orthographic views are very important for showing lots of details such as dimensions, but it doesn't give you a sense of what that 3D object is going to look like. So we also like to draw 3D objects in isometric view, and the isometric view gives us the illusion of depth, but it also has some other important characteristics. All three of my planes are going to be represented in the same size. So I'm going to draw my top plane as a rhombus or a parallelogram. And my front plane is going to be the exact same size as my top plane. And so is my right plane. So it might seem confusing. This obviously looks like the top of this cube, but both sides of this cube looks like it could be the front. But just by convention, this one is the front and this one is the right side. If I am the cube, it would feel like that should be the left side of the cube, but it's from the perspective of the viewer, and the viewer would see this one as the right side. So all three of these faces is going to connect at a corner. And the other thing that might seem confusing is we all know that a cube has square faces, and a square has corners that are 90 degrees. But on this drawing, this is not a 90-degree angle. It is equally shared between all three faces. And I know that a full circle is 360, so when I divide 360 by 3 equally, all my corners are actually going to be 120 degrees. Okay, so let's see how that helps us draw a three-dimensional object. And we're going to practice with the triomino that we learned last time. Okay, so let's start by drawing our triomino. And I'm not going to specify what face this is because I'm actually going to draw it as all three separate faces. Okay, and I'm going to do that by first drawing the top face. And from my notes, I remember that the top view is my X and my Y. So all my lines should be parallel to X and Y. So when I draw the bottom of my triomino, I'm going to draw it along this X-axis. When I go up, let's label this. This is line 1 and this is line 2. Okay, I've drawn line 1, now I'm going to draw line 2. Okay, that has to be along the Y because that's up on my orthographic view. I'm going to go left along the X, going to go up along the Y, left along the X, and then down along the Y. Okay, and that makes my top view. So now I'm going to extrude along the x-axis, z-axis, which I usually draw this direction. But since this is the top of my shape, I'm actually going to extrude down. And then I'm going to connect the bottom of my shape. So I actually took 4 steps to do this. I identified my plane. In this case, it was the XY plane. I projected my shape onto that plane. Then I extruded along the axes that's not included in my plane, and then I connected the bottom side of the extrusion. Okay, we can repeat these exact same 4 steps, but we're going to do it on the front plane. Okay, the front plane, from my notes, I know that the front plane includes the x-axis and the z-axis. So all my lines should be parallel with the x-axis and the z-axis. Okay, I'm going to draw the bottom of my triomino and go up the side, back to the left along the x-axis, up the z-axis, along the x-axis, and then down the z-axis. I'm going to extrude along my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to connect the back side of my shape. Okay, that's my front view. Okay, my last one is my right view, and I know my right view is along my y-axis and my z-axis. So I'm going to draw my triomino along my y, up my z, along my y, up z, along my y, and then down z. I'm going to extrude. So the x-axis is this way, but because this is the right view, I'm going to extrude back and then connect the back of my extrude. And then that is my right face.